Hello, and welcome to Scott's Odyssey. One of the bigger aspects of this channel was created while I was traveling the US on my way to my former job locations. While driving, I would catch things out of the corner of my eye. Things that would make me think, that looked interesting. But because of time to destination and the requirements that needed to be met for my contracts, I never got a chance to stop and take a look or revisit the location on the way back to my office. Then one day I decided to start scheduling around those types of conflicts with the intent of stopping at locations that caught my eye and things that I found interesting. Well, right here near the Odyssey HQ is one of those locations. Just as many of the residents, I've driven past this location a bajillion times and never bothered to stop and see what it really is all about. Welcome to the location for the Huntingdon and Broad Top Mountain Railroad Stone Creek Bridge. See you in a minute. Welcome back. If you've watched my videos before, thank you for your patronage. And if you're new to Scott's Odyssey, welcome aboard. We're out today doing an along the way. Along the way, as you've seen before, it's usually places that we find along the way when we're on our way to an actual site, and it's one of the ways that I find other sites to go to. And sometimes looking a little closer in your own backyard is better. In this particular instance, well, let's just say for this video, we'll hit a handful of different sites that are really close to the Odyssey HQ that most people don't even realize are right there in their backyard and how significant they are and how old they are. This particular bridge has always sat at about eye level when people are driving by. And unless you're a passenger, you probably did not know that it is an actual bridge because you can't see below the current road bridge sidewalls. So what you end up seeing is a dirty, grassy, sometimes tree overgrown piece of land along the side of the bridge that you're driving over. What you're actually looking at is the Huntingdon, PA Stone Creek Bridge, a bridge specifically built to carry the first single-track railroad through this portion of Pennsylvania. The bridge itself was bid for contract in May of 1848 and began building in July of that same year. The building of the bridge ended in April of 1849 and was immediately put to work as a short run. I do not know why the sign on the bridge states 1850, but this is an error we often see at many of these sites where someone did not actually look at the facts and just up and decided on a random date or the information of a single source and decided that the information provided must be good enough, which ultimately leads to a slew of people with misinformation about a location trusting poor information sources without validation or verification. So always check your sources when you investigate these sites. The bridge was put into full rotation of train transport on June 6, 1850. It ran as a main artery until 1892 when the Huntingdon Canal was dried out, filled with gravel, and laid with tracks to carry the new dual and quad lines of the Pennsylvania Railroad. Although this portion of the railroad had ended, the line continued to operate from within Huntingdon Borough as a short line, providing access to the PRR for companies such as Warnaco well into the 1950s. The Stone Creek Bridge is an abandoned railroad bridge with 4 stone arches, each 25 feet in length, parallel to the original highway bridge and the original canal that was later turned into the PRR line, later to be referred to as the Conrail line and now the Norfolk Southern line. Let's do some stone bridge learning, shall we? The bottom arch of a stone bridge are referred to as the voussoir abutment, where voussoir means wedged stone, representing each of the stones that were cut in a tapered manner in order to construct the arch. The top center or main voussoir stone is called the keystone, which without, the entire structure would most definitely collapse. And this stone is usually larger and longer than the rest of the stones in order to hold more pressure from the surrounding stones. Where each stone touches the ground is the barrel pier. All the rest of the stone in the bridge are called your spandrel wall, or a wall that is built to fill in the basic shape of a triangle between the arches and the road or rail being carried by the bridge. Not too dissimilar than the way most things are constructed today, with the triangle being one of the most simplest and sturdy structures for architecture, and even chairs with only 3 legs. At the top of the bridge you have a belt course or a stringer, which is a straightened line in order to make a bridge where it meets what it is carrying more visually appealing and removes any shapes that may confuse the people or animals crossing the bridge by providing conflicting information about the shape of the road. On top of the belt course, you have a series of coping stones called your parapet, which is a low side wall to keep you on the bridge and give you a feeling of safety, even though these are normally only about knee high. All of the bridges have an abutment, which is a large stone structure rooted into the ground at the banks in order to hold the bridge and take on the job of carrying all of the vertical and horizontal weight. Lots of times, these older bridges have attachments to the abutment called a wing wall that diagonally flares out from the abutments and serves the purpose of maintaining a smoother transition for water flow under a bridge. The wing wall was what would stop high or fast waters from washing out the sides or even behind the abutments, which would ultimately lead to catastrophic failure of the road as you reached the bridge. Sometimes wing walls are just added for purely decorative reasons, or in a buttress in order to stop earth from slowing down the sides and washing out any roads that are found underneath the bridge during a heavy rainy season. I do think it's neat. All this was hand laid, keystoned. Look at the keystone. It's just so cool. It's not lighting up correctly. Look at that keystone. Come on, find it. There we go. That one keystone, longer than all the rest, crosses over. This is a bad thing. That big crack right there, that's a bad thing. Although, it is not as bad as this one over here. This is probably why they stopped using this particular bridge. He goes the whole entire way. Yeah, you see the crack continues on this side too. So the whole face of that is getting ready to fall off. Now we go up onto it. What do we got here? All right, so here we have some interesting sets of features. I'll try to give you an explanation while we're looking at it. Let's take a turn around on the camera. That over there is the Conrail 4-lane railroad. That's the PRR 4-lane or 4-rail train line. This here, where daughter is standing, my young indentured servant, is the single-lane Huntingdon Railroad bridge that we just looked at from underneath. This over here is currently the William Penn Highway. It's really loud. This is where the road was. This is where the train was, and that is where the canal was. And we'll get more into the canal and how when the railroad owned the canals, they just filled them in and then put the rails right up on top of them. So the canal's still there. It's just underneath a whole lot of rock and a whole lot of rail. Here we are at Portstown Arch. Don't have a lot of history on it yet because we're not doing the ghost town of Portstown. And then here you go with the Keystone. Remember what we said about the Keystone? It's bigger and longer normally. We got a lot of other long rocks here though. And then this is the wing wall. I wonder, was this actually built for people to walk under, or was this for the muddy run? Because Huntingdon has the muddy run.
Whatever website you were on earlier had a picture of it was built.
Really?
Yeah.
Of this?
That's what it looked like.
Huh.
They had a picture of a little.
What if they all look the same?
They might. But it was
Do a wing wall. A wing wall. I don't know how big this really was. We see the arch, but I don't know how deep it went. I don't know if it went deeper or down further, and this is all backfilled in. It's really neat. We have some modifications that were added to it at one time. I don't know if they were holding metal rails or grates so people could walk along the side of the bridge when they were doing their rail walking and rail inspection. I don't know if that is a piece of the former rock that was there or if that is a after the fact stone growth. Pretty neat stuff though. We have a neat arch. This, I know what this was. Okay, so I'm thinking these holes that you see and these iron nails along with this guy underneath, I believe this was caged. There was probably a cage or a gate to stop people from going underneath. Up there in the corner, a bird made a nice little house. As we come along the abutment, we have a nice pressure fracture. And it goes all the way up and through the coping concrete. But that's not what we're here for. We're going to look at this nice, beautiful park, and we're heading over that way. All right, so we're losing a lot of daylight here, and this is just a general exploration in the hopes of being able to do a bigger show. But we walked a short distance from that tunnel in Portstown. We're still in the park. There's a skate park to my left. There's a playground and horseshoe pit to my right. But I wanted to show you something that is still here. What we still have here is the original Huntingdon Railroad line, the single line. Over there, can you make it out, is the Conrail line. And here's the Huntingdon line with a keep out, private property, no trespassing, Conrail, get in trouble. So we're not going any further than here. We're at the limit of how far we can go. We'll see if we can't get some pictures of the top. If we look back, most of this is now overgrown, as you see, with trees. And this was not a narrow gauge. This was a normal gauge railroad. It was not narrow gauge like the East Broad Top. We'll see if we can find more of it along the way. We even have this really cool thing over here. The retaining wall actually has a cool fence on it, or at least some part of it. We'll have to look on the other side there, Aaron. What do you think? Oh, heard it coming in the distance while we're in the park.
Why not go closer?
There she is. If you can hear me, but we're going to see what it's like to go underneath the Portstown tunnel when the train's actually going overhead. Although it seems to actually be getting quieter. We are directly beneath a Norfolk Southern train, and it's actually quiet. It is really quiet. Let's make our way back out to where the train is, so maybe the audio will pick up and you'll hear what it sounds like outside of here. Here we are directly beneath. And it's still not too loud. It's kind of odd. Oh, there goes the last car. Now it's going to get really quiet. If you haven't already, remember to click like on this video and to subscribe for more ODDySEEy stories of who we once were. Just so you're aware, take note, there's a video up here, that's last week's video. The one down here, this is a video that YouTube thinks you'll really like from my series of videos. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.